Quarterback Monday, and there still aren't nearly enough quarterbacks in the house. But that's not going to stop me from saying something that, well, you'll hear it. Good morning to you. Good Monday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday if you're into hockey and or baseball. I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates in the same place that you found this. No, Aaron Rodgers hasn't told anybody what he's doing. No, Russell Wilson hasn't signed a contract. And no, I still don't care if either of them ever does, particularly as it relates to the Steelers. I just don't. Now, does that mean I think they're done because they have Mason Rudolph? No, of course not. 2 spots remain in that room. I'd love to see them both get filled by a youngster acquired from another team in the NFL, and then a youngster acquired in the draft. Begin the process. But I've got something else to say on that front. And believe it or not, it really has very little to do with that position or Rudolph. The offense is better. The offense is better right now than it was in the 2024 season. I've got a couple of asterisks there, so don't jump down my throat and wait to hear it out. But if I'm going around this group, not just the starting 11, but the depth pieces as well, and I'm beginning with the not at all small acquisition of DK Metcalf, the offense is better. Metcalf alone makes it better. Beyond even his individual presence, Metcalf shows up and becomes a bookend with George Pickens that if everything's harmonious and however else one would hope that it would be, those two are going to be as tough, as strong, as sizable as any wide receiver combo in the league. Stop and think about that, because I don't know that enough people have. It's like the Metcalf acquisition happened, and the very next day you lose Justin Fields, and it's all the end of the world and everything, and it's like Metcalf wasn't even real. That was just a dream. Well, then Metcalf shows up later in the week, and everybody remembers and gets excited again. But that's legit. Just like he's legit. Just like the combo will be legit. And if you find a way to incorporate Calvin Austin, and he should be your number 3, and that's the Steelers' plan, by the way, and then you find a way to actually utilize Roman Wilson, who was supposed to be a significant part of this offense in 2024. That, of course, never materialized because of some moving train or other. Well, now you've got a wide receiver room, don't you? Like a room. And in the modern NFL, if you make that much of a jump at that position, your offense is better. But I won't stop there. Let's go to the tight ends. It'll be the same guys. It'll be Pat Freiermuth and Darnell Washington, though they've also added an even bigger guy there in 6'8" Donald Parham. Arthur Smith's now had a year to find Freiermuth on the field, or to entice his quarterbacks to find Freiermuth. He's going to be more comfortable working with Freiermuth, with Washington, with the middle of the field in general, an area that, by the way, Rudolph isn't remotely afraid to throw to. Better there. Offensive line, you can cross fingers, you can hope that Pat Meyer isn't some sort of failure as a coach and that he can have a bounce back as well, particularly when it comes to Broderick Jones. You can hope that watching Troy Fautanu through training camp preseason and one whole game of the regular season wasn't a mirage. He looks like he'd be solid, maybe more. Fair to expect that Zach Frazier will be an even better center in year 2. Same goes for Mason McCormick at right guard, and Isaac Seumalo will just be Isaac. I'd still like to see more added at the position, but if what's there is what ends up there, I feel safe in projecting that they'll be better than they were last year. And let's remember that offensive linemen like to block for guys like Rudolph. We saw that at the end of the 2023 season, and those of us who were in the locker room heard it only every day. Which leaves me with the running back position, and that was the one that I was asking the asterisk for, because I see Jaylen Warren. I like the addition of Kenneth Gainwell, although I'll cringe at least a little bit that Gainwell himself acknowledged that the Steelers were really interested in him in large part because of how he performed against them in Philadelphia once Saquon Barkley went down. That's always a little unsettling, some sort of in-person one-game sample size. But Gainwell's been a serviceable player. Gainwell's only 26. And even setting him aside, there is every reason to believe, and heaven knows I've heard enough about this, that the Steelers are going to draft a running back. So now you'd be talking about 3 candidates back there. So what do you do at the quarterback position? I've made my case on that countless times already, even just in recent days. What I want back there is the most professional, most motivated, most focused, and most compatible guy that you can get with the Smith offense. You know who that is. At least you know who that is in my eyes. When we come back, J1Q. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George is a personal injury law firm in Western Pennsylvania that represents injured people in automobile accidents, workers' compensation cases, and medical malpractice claims. The attorneys at Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George pride themselves in doing what they say they're going to do. It's important to them that when they make you a promise, they keep that promise. And this law firm has been keeping promises for over 80 years. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George has been AV rated. That's the highest rating a law firm can receive for legal ability and ethics. And the lawyers at the firm have been designated super lawyers, that's a real thing, for over 15 years. Rare combination there. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George has offices in Cranberry, Newcastle, Beaver Falls, Butler, and Elwood City. Learn more about them at lgkg.com or by calling 888-842-5454. Again, that's 888-842-5454. Today's J1Q comes from Victor Yasher, who says, "Man, DK, to be honest with you, I don't see any real limitations with Mason Rudolph at QB1. DK, do you see anything in Mason's game that would keep him from being QB1 for the Steelers? He might not be a good fit for other teams, but in my opinion, he seems to be the perfect fall sweater for the Steelers to wear. Strong arm, confident in the pocket, has decent mobility, can make all the throws." Vic, I've obviously made my case on multiple fronts regarding Mason. None of that's going to be new to anybody who's listening to this program. But the way you ask the one question where you say, do you see anything in Mason's game that would keep him from being QB1? It forces me to at least put on, some cynical hat and think about it from that standpoint. Think about, what could be a fatal flaw? What could be something that goes really wrong that would disrupt him? And what I do when I think like that, I think a lot of people do this, is I rewind to 2019 and I remember the happy feet and I remember the throws at other people's feet, his receivers' feet. And I think about some of the negatives from back then, and then I have to remind myself that those were, in fact, back then. The next thing I think of, again, still wearing that hat, is, okay, what happened with the Steelers over those final 4 games was wonderful, but it was only 4 games. What if that was all just some sort of high and he's not really someone who's going to be able to throw with that type of precision to make all those different types of passes that he did, the deep balls, the touch passes, the lobs, the balls that were fired up the middle. What if that comes down to earth? And then I think about his just having spent a year in Nashville with what might have been overall the worst offense in the NFL. And there's no way you can completely excuse him, or for that matter, Will Levis, from that. When you're that bad, you're that bad. And I wonder if that might have had some sort of drag down effect. But when I'm looking for something that's tangible, Vic, and this is probably the best I can do at answering your question, when I look for something where I say, for example, the way I did about Justin Fields last summer, where I was concerned about the fumbles. I was concerned about the ball security in general. He proved me wrong with the interceptions. He proved me wrong with his general accuracy. He didn't really prove much of anybody wrong when it came to the fumbles. And you can say center quarterback exchange or whatever, but nobody else was having center quarterback issues with Zach Frazier. So I had something there. With Russell Wilson, it was mostly about his age, but then how his age would dovetail with his lack of size, with his not just wanting, but needing to get out of the pocket to see down the field, which he's always had to do, but now not being able to do that because he doesn't have the same jump or the same ability to recover from injuries, including in-game injuries. And I think you could possibly find a fatal flaw would be too strong with Fields, but a fatal flaw with Russ, yeah, for sure. What I could see going wrong in this setting for Mason would be if the offensive line doesn't improve, if the offensive line doesn't adjust to where he is and how he holds the pocket or even steps up in the pocket, because he's not about to bolt out of there and get you 30 yards. I mean, maybe once in a while, but not all that often. But he's 6'5", he's got the rocket arm, and you should be able to hold that block. So I feel like I kind of let you down here. I gave it a shot anyway, you know? But I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Steelers. And don't forget, we have a double shot video live coming your way at 4 p.m. Eastern today on YouTube and on pretty much every platform everywhere.